Look at this thing,
Blake said, nudging me as we leaned against my SUV. I turned to see a multicolored VW Bug pull into the middle of nowhere gas station. As the vehicle pulled into the pool of light bathing the gas station, I saw two clowns in the front seats. Their heads moved in unison, eyes fixed on Blake and I as they pulled up on the opposite side of the pump and stopped the car. The driver got out, eyes still fixed on us. He looked strange somehow. His eyes were yellow and there was something up with the irises. I figured he was wearing colored contacts.
"What are you looking at?"
Blake said.
"I'll wipe that smile right off your face."
The clown's smile got even bigger at that. Almost too big, like his face was made of elastic. The passenger got out, a similar tight-lipped smile spreading across his face. They didn't say a word. They just stared at us. I knew Blake was about to do something stupid.
"That's it, you fucking freaks,"
my friend said. He stepped forward, but I grabbed him by the arm.
"Take it easy,"
I said to him before looking at the clowns.
"Sorry about my friend,"
I told them.
"He's had a rough day. We don't mean to offend you, gentlemen."
The gas pump clicked off, and I removed the nozzle from my Ford, putting it back into the pump. Blake was still staring at the clowns, his arms held out from his sides in an unconscious effort to make himself look bigger. I got in front of him and whispered,
"The last thing we need right now is to draw attention, remember? They're still fucking staring at us,"
he said.
"Just let it go,"
I told him, pushing him around to the back. Huffing, Blake got into the passenger seat. I got in and fired the vehicle up. And as I pulled out of the gas station, I glanced in my rearview mirror to see that the clowns were still staring at us. I suppressed a shiver and focused on driving straight. I'd been drinking, and the last thing we needed was to get pulled over. We arrived at the cabin 20 minutes later. It belonged to a friend, and we knew where the key was. We often used the place for recreational activities. Blake grabbed the booze and the other supplies from the back seat, leaving the main event in the cargo area for a little later. We cracked a couple of beers and snorted a couple of lines in the cabin, gearing ourselves up for the fun we had planned. But I kept recalling the way the clowns looked at us. What the hell were a couple of clowns doing out in the middle of nowhere anyway? And in the middle of the night, no less. There was a knock at the cabin door, making both of us jump.
"Did you see any headlights pull up outside?"
Blake asked. I shook my head.
"Who the hell could it be?"
he asked. I grabbed a paper towel and set it gently over the Coke arranged on the table, while Blake moved toward the door. He looked back to make sure everything incriminating was out of direct sight. Then he opened the front door. The honking of a clown horn erupted from right outside the door before Blake jerked his head. He stumbled back with an axe blade sticking out of his forehead. As he fell to the ground, the clown who'd been driving the car at the gas station stepped inside, hands on his hips like Superman. He smiled with closed lips as his yellow eyes fixed on me. Then, slipping one hand behind his back, he produced a large, rusty knife. I put my hands up and crept toward the back of the cabin, where the bedrooms and bathroom were.
"I don't have a problem with you,"
I said. But as I got in line with the front door, I saw over the clown's shoulder. The other clown from the car was opening the back of my SUV, helping the girl Blake and I had picked up from the bar. She was still drowsy from the drugs we'd slipped her, but the clown was helping her out of the zip ties we'd used around her wrists and ankles. I remembered something she said when Blake had first started chatting her up. I hadn't paid it much attention at the time. I'd been staring at her breasts, but now it seemed vitally important. She said,
"I'm in town with the circus. I'm a gymnast."
I bolted to the back of the cabin, but the clown was fast. I tried to open a window in the back bedroom, but the clown came at me, forcing me into the corner.
"I stood up for you,"
I said, pleading.
"Remember? You won't kill me, will you?"
The clown looked at me over his blood-red nose. The yellow pallor in his eyes seemed to dampen, and they almost looked like the eyes of a human. Just a normal human, and not some insane clown bent on destruction. His lips curled up, and they kept going, way past the point where the muscles in his cheeks should have stopped them. When the lips were nearly touching his eyes, they parted to reveal sharp, blackened teeth. The laugh started small, way down deep in his body, but it quickly grew in volume and hysteria until he was scream-laughing in my face. His breath was a miasma of decomposing flesh and rotten vegetables. Quick as lightning, He drove the rusty knife blade into my chest again and again. I slumped to the floor in agonizing pain. The last thing I heard was that insane laughter, which followed me down to hell. My heart was working overtime as I slammed the door to my apartment.
Babe,
My girlfriend called from her home office.
did you forget something?
I barely registered her question. I was going over what just happened, asking myself if I was dreaming. But when I looked out the peephole in the apartment door, I knew I wasn't.
Daryl?
My girlfriend said, now from just a few feet behind me.
What's wrong?
I looked through the peephole one last time before turning to face Shanna.
I was just attacked by a clown.
Shanna smiled, clearly not believing me.
A clown, huh? You know, that's what I hate about living in this high-rise. The clown problem. I'm serious.
I said.
I was waiting for the elevator when this clown comes running down the hallway toward me. He looked insane. I can't put it any other way. And when I saw that his eyes were fixed on me, I ran. He grabbed at my shirt, and he was fucking laughing. But I got free and came back. Thank God I forgot to lock the door again.
Still smiling, Shanna cocked an eyebrow.
What is this?
She said.
Why are you messing with me? I'm not. I'm really not, Shanna. Just look out the peephole. You'll see.
Her smile fading, Shanna took my spot at the door and looked out, then quickly jumped back.
Jesus! He's just standing there, staring at the door. See? Told you. This isn't me. Have you ever known me to pull pranks like this?
Shanna shook her head and then looked out again.
Wait,
She said.
someone's coming. They're running down the hall. Let me see.
I said, stepping up and watching as the clown turned away from the door and started running down the hall towards the approaching figure, who was not a clown. The figure had a baseball bat in his hands, and he bashed the clown with it.
Oh, shit!
I said. The guy kept coming, and as he got closer, I recognized him. It was a neighbor that lived down the hall, Ryan. Then I saw why he was running. There was another clown down the hall. It was chasing him. Ryan banged on my door.
Daryl!
He shouted.
Shanna! Let me in, please! Let me in!
I unlocked the door and opened it, allowing Ryan inside. I glanced down the hall at the clown that was running toward us, snarling and laughing. It looked similar to the one that had chased me, but not quite the same. I slammed the door and locked it, but the clown banged into it a second later and proceeded to slam his fists into the door, snarling and laughing all the while.
What the hell is going on?
Shanna asked.
I don't know.
Ryan said.
I don't know. I got home from my morning run and found a damn clown in my apartment. He was in my bed. He must have done something with Tina because I didn't see her anywhere. I don't understand it. This must be a bad dream. You're bleeding,
Shanna said. I looked at Ryan's left arm and saw that she was right. There was a roughly oval wound there, oozing blood.
The fucking guy bit me,
He said.
When he did that, I ran and grabbed this bat I keep by the front door. I didn't know where else to go. You guys were the first people I thought of.
The clown was still banging at the front door, but now he let out a piercing laugh, sounding like a particularly sinister version of the Joker in a dark Batman cartoon. I pulled out my phone and said,
I'm calling 911.
but when I dialed the 3 numbers and hit send, the phone just rang and rang. After a good minute of this, Shanna asked what was happening.
It's just ringing,
I said, taking the phone away from my ear and putting it on speaker. Ryan looked like he was about to say something, but his face went suddenly pale, and he stumbled, dropping the bat. I caught him awkwardly, phone still in my hand. After handing the phone to Shanna, I helped Ryan to the bedroom. After getting him on the bed, Shanna came in.
The phone just stopped ringing,
She said.
It just disconnected. I tried calling again, but I got a message saying that all operators were busy and to try back later.
I swallowed hard and shook my head. The clown was still banging and laughing at the front door. The noise was getting to me, burrowing deep into my brain, like an ice pick shoved in a centimeter at a time. We spent a few minutes tending to Ryan's wound, but we couldn't get him to wake up. He'd lost consciousness, and I couldn't imagine why. The wound wasn't that bad. We closed the door to the bedroom and stood in the living room to figure out what we should do.
Our 2 choices are stay here and keep calling 911 until they pick up, or try to get Ryan to a hospital ourselves, which means confronting the clown in the hallway,
I said. We discussed the merits of each option for several minutes before deciding to stay and keep trying 911 for at least half an hour. So that's what we did. 10 minutes later, We still hadn't been able to connect with an emergency operator. There was suddenly a thump from the bedroom door, loud enough for us to hear it over the constant banging and laughing from the hallway. Shanna and I looked that way.
He's up,
I said. I moved over to the door, but just as I reached it, I burst it open. A clown rushed at me, laughing insanely and chomping his teeth together. I had just enough time to notice Ryan's clothes on the bedroom floor, torn apart. There was no sign of Ryan. The clown grabbed me by the neck, and he pushed me backward until my legs hit the glass coffee table. I tripped, and we slammed into the heavy glass, shattering it as we fell. The clown snapped at my face, his teeth barely an inch away. Rainbow-colored saliva dripped on my face as I screamed for Shanna to help me. While struggling to keep the clown from biting me, I had a disturbing realization. The clown's clothes didn't feel like clothes at all. They felt like skin. There was a metal thunk as Shanna hit the clown in the head with the baseball bat. His eyes rolled back into his head and he went limp, allowing me to throw him off. But even as I got up, he was regaining consciousness.
The patio!
Shanna shouted, grabbing me before I had a moment to think about what to do. Pain clouded my mind, and I knew that I was injured from the fall into the coffee table. I just didn't know how bad. Shanna threw the curtains covering the sliding glass door aside and yanked the door open. We stepped out into the 10th floor patio. I shut the door and held it shut, waiting for the clown to try and open it. But then Shanna made a sound I'd never heard from her before. It was a sound of utter dismay. I looked at her to see that her attention was directed downward, at the street below. And as I followed her gaze, I saw why. The street was filled with clowns, hundreds of them, thousands maybe. They were chasing regular people, attacking them, biting them. As far as I could see in every direction, there were clowns. Movement from inside caught my attention, and I saw the clown that had once been Ryan running full on at the sliding glass door. Most of the kids were pretty exhausted toward the end of my daughter's birthday party. They'd been riding a massive sugar high from all the cake and ice cream we served. And now that the small troop of clowns was packing up, having done the full 2 hours of entertainment we'd paid them for, the mood had calmed considerably. Some kids were still playing in the bouncy castle, while others were shooting each other with Nerf guns around the yard. All in all, it was a success. But as the clowns carried their supplies through the side gate to get back to their vehicle, I realized I hadn't seen my daughter Anna in several minutes. At first, I wasn't too concerned. I knew some kids were inside, watching a movie or eating the snacks we had put out. But when I got inside and looked around, I still couldn't find her. I saw my wife talking with another mom in the kitchen.
Have you seen Anna?
My wife's face immediately changed.
No, where did you last see her? She was outside just a couple of minutes ago,
I said.
Can you check upstairs? I'm going out front.
Without waiting for an answer, I headed out the front door to see the clown troupe loading up their colorful van. But something else caught my attention. Another clown was putting stuff into a 10-year-old silver sedan over to my left and across the street. I scanned the yard but didn't see my daughter. Then I heard a window open from upstairs.
She's not up here!
Evelyn yelled. There was a clown coming out from the gate, heading toward the van with a plastic bin of supplies. I ran over and caught his attention, pointing at the clown now shutting the back door of the sedan.
Is he one of yours?
I asked. The clown shook his head.
No, not one of ours. We thought you hired another guy.
I was about to say that I hadn't when the clown in question looked straight at us. I was still pointing at him. He froze for a moment, then hurried to get behind the wheel of his sedan.
Hey!
I yelled, moving toward him.
Hey, stop!
He didn't stop. He fired his car up and pulled out of his spot. My car was boxed in by other vehicles, so I knew I only had one chance to stop the guy. I ran at an angle to my right, hoping that I could get into the street to make him stop. But even before I'd taken 4 steps, I knew it wouldn't be possible. Thinking fast, I detoured and picked up a basketball from the front yard. The sedan's front windows were open, meaning I only had one shot at this. I knew my daughter was in the car. I knew it. There was no other reason for him to act like he was. As the sedan came abreast of me, I was still a good 10 yards away. I threw the basketball with all I had, compensating for the speed of the vehicle, aiming at where the window would be instead of where it was. The basketball sailed through the window, bounced off the dash, and hit the clown in the face, knocking off his red nose. He wrenched the wheel to the left and smashed into the front of a truck parked at the side of the road. I reached the vehicle moments later, but I didn't see my daughter. Although dazed, the clown put the vehicle in reverse. I leaned through the window and punched him in the face. Then I hit him again, and he slumped in the seat. I knocked the gear shift into neutral and then checked the back seat. It contained nothing but a few small bags and a bunch of fast food trash. So I wrenched open the passenger door and pulled the dazed clown out, tossing him onto the ground before grabbing the keys out of the ignition. Using the keys, I opened the trunk and found a squirming duffel bag there. I unzipped it and found my daughter, who'd been gagged and bound. My wife came running up and hugged our daughter, who insisted that she was okay. We learned later, after the police were called and the man arrested, that he was wanted in 5 other states for abducting children from birthday parties and then killing them. His reign of terror had come to an end, and that was the last time we ever hired clowns for a birthday party. We stuck to magicians from then on. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.